test. Zoom, can you hear? Test for Zoom.
We hope you'll speak. Okay. Yes. We do, always. But thrilled to see you.
So hopefully,
Yeah. Yes. But we're good at getting people online. So we're good at getting people online. So if you're in Albany and you want to join us, feel free.
so
We're there.
So we're good, but I know someone was mentioning they may leave partway through, which if that happens, we'll drop back under. So,
Well, they better stay.
so hopefully we get one more.
Currently, if no one mentions it,
I can check.
it's okay. Okay. We now have quorum, so we can begin the meeting. Thank you. So welcome to the January full board meeting of Community Board 7 Manhattan. I want to thank B'nai Jeshurun for their kind offer of this space for us this evening. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda? I would like to make one modification of it, which is to move the BCI items up ahead of the other committee report outs to accommodate Ben, who is online. All right? Thank you. With that modification, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. I am required by law to announce those members who have been given waivers to attend tonight remotely, and you will be seeing them online. Michelle Parker, due to travel; Clary Newelt, due to illness; Josh Cohen, travel; Louisa, Craddock, illness; Miranda Goodwin-Raab, illness; Melissa Rosenberg, illness; Seema Reddy, illness; Will Ortiz, illness; and Sarah Carrillo, illness. Respiratory illnesses have struck us hard tonight, but I think we have a good group to go forward with. To start the agenda, I'd like to call on Natasha Kazmi, who is our Elections Committee Chair, who will lead the request for nominations to the position we approved last time.
Hi, everyone, and Happy New Year. As chair of CB7's election committee, I am back in front of you today to take nominations for the newly created executive committee position of Technology and Communications Officer. The process we will follow is defined in Section 4B of the board's bylaws, and you may review them if you like. Tonight, I will ask for nominations for this position, which will have to be seconded, of course. We will then meet again at next month's full board meeting to actually vote on this. In the meantime, the nominated candidates are required to submit within 10 business days of tonight's meeting a written statement of their qualifications for office to our district manager, Max. Max will then send copies of the statements and a notice of election to all members within 15 business days of tonight. On the day of the election, just before the vote, members of the board will have the opportunity to ask questions of the candidates, and the candidates may campaign until then, but no campaigning is allowed at the time, the meeting during which the election is to be held. I want to thank Max in advance for his support during this process, and also the election committee members, Elizabeth Caputo and Avi. So with that, I'm opening up the floor to collect nominations for the position of Technology and Communications Officer. Do I have, yes? Great. Do I have somebody seconding? Yeah. Okay, great. So Alex Bell has been successfully nominated for this position. Do I have any other nominations? Going once? No. Okay, so with that, nobody on Zoom either, I'm assuming. With that, I am closing the nomination process for the position of Technology and Communications Officer. And thank you, and I'll see you back in this position next month.
Thank you, Natasha. Okay, I will now move on to the chair's report. I hope all of you enjoyed the holiday season, and Happy New Year to you all. The borough president will open applications to become board members of Community Board 7 this month. So for existing board members whose terms expire this year, and for members of the public who are interested in membership, be on the lookout for BP announcements and check his website for deadlines and application forms. Typically, the actual appointments are made in April. For members of the public, also note that Community Board 7 has approved a new public member program that may appoint members of the public to serve on a committee, not on the full board, but on a single committee. Public members are limited to one per committee, and we expect to appoint candidates by the end of February. The details of the program and an application form are all on the Community Board 7 website with a link on the homepage to that information. Kevin Reevy, our treasurer, will defer his report until next month when he has the opportunity to analyze our end-year financial status, which we do not yet have. I would like a motion to approve the minutes for our December meeting. Seconded? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
With that, I will call on Max Vandervliet for the district manager's report. Thank you.
Thanks, Beverly. Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome, and for braving the cold. So just a couple announcements. Beverly mostly covered the public member application. As you know, that's now live. Our office has put that out on Link NYC. That's been out for almost a month. We've put it out in our newsletter for the last 3 Fridays at least, and it's on our website. We've gotten a good amount of applications so far, and last Thursday, I sent a note out to all committee co-chairs with a memo from the executive committee that outlines the process, the protocol, and the timelines for how each committee is going to work through those. And your committee co-chairs are going to share that with you and be ready to discuss that at your upcoming January committee meetings. In addition to that, Jesse's created a really good organizational structure in the drive. So each of your committee workstations have a subfolder called public member application, and in that subfolder you'll find all the applications to your respective committees. As you might imagine, transportation has the majority of them. Some committees don't have any yet, but we're going to keep running it on Link NYC in the newsletter, and the application is going to stay on the website as well. Anyway, you'll be able to access them all there, in addition to the memo that I sent out on behalf of the executive committee the other day that speaks to the timeline and process on it. That, I think, covers the public member application, and then beginning next week on the 13th, those of you that email the office might see a new name on the threads. Jesse, Alex, and I have recruited a student intern that's going to be working with us just from January 13th through the end of May. We had a tremendous amount of applications, and we ultimately unanimously decided on an individual. She really appealed to us because she grew up on the Upper West Side, and she's kind of a career change student. She graduated from Brown in 2019 or so, and worked in the TV and film industry for a few years, and is now pursuing a political science degree at Hunter. So you might see the name Macy Haft, I think it is, on some email threads, and just give her a warm welcome when you see her. And that's my report. Thanks.
Quick question. Is this intern, is it paid or unpaid? And if it's paid, how much?
Not funded through the CB7 budget.
We like that. Thank you.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Thank you. I'd like to turn it over to the staff to call on members of the public for the community session, which will start now.
So first, we're going to go to special guest Larry Wood from Goddard, and then we'll make our way through the rest of the public member list. Before you start, Larry, I'm not sure if we've decided 1 minute or 2 minute each. I defer to the two. Okay, two it is.
I prepared for one so I can talk slowly. Anyway, good evening. I'm here actually to make a program announcement on behalf of Goddard Riverside. My name is Larry Wood, and I serve as Director of Advocacy and Organizing at Goddard. I've been on staff there for 37 years now. I also live here in the neighborhood, a couple blocks away on 85th Street. I moved in 1978 when I was still in college. Anyway, I love living, working, and serving the Upper West Side community. So a new program, the Department of Homeless Services has been working to open a new, what they call an emergency capacity site. This is going to be for adult families or couples. So that's a couple or an adult, a parent and an adult child. And it's going to be transitional housing. That's basically what an emergency capacity site is transitional housing. It'll be in an existing SRO in the West 90s. It's going to be called The Monument, and it's going to be administered by Goddard Riverside. The target date for the new residents, they're going to start moving in February. We've been working with the building a long time. There's 21 permanent hotel stabilized residents in the SRO already. And we're going to be making a full presentation with more details at the January 28th Health and Human Services Committee. I know I had a lot of questions, so I imagine you have a lot of questions too. So I invite you to come out to the Health and Human Services Committee January 28th, and we'll do a full presentation. And I want to turn it over to Jenny Drussman, who's our Associate Vice President for Street Solutions, and she's going to be overseeing this site and a number of other programs here at Goddard, and she's going to tell you a little about that.
Hello, everyone. As Larry said, I'm Jenny Drossman, AVP of Street Solutions at Goddard Riverside. I oversee our Safe Haven in Elmhurst, Queens, two capacity sites like this one in the Upper West Side in the Queens area as well, and then our street outreach teams that serve downtown Manhattan as well as the uptown area serving CB7. And so, yes, as Larry said, we're slated to open in February. We have 3 residences already in the Upper West Side, 5 in Manhattan. This will be our 5th one. And we look forward to seeing you all at the Health and Human Services Committee to learn more. Thank you.
Our next member of the public is?
Next, we're going to turn to Assemblymember Micah Lasher.
Thank you. And welcome.
Good evening, everybody. It is wonderful to see many friends of long standing and hopefully new friends. It is my great privilege as of last week to be the new Assembly member for the 69th Assembly District, succeeding Danny O'Donnell after 22 years of fine service to this community. And the 69th Assembly District is effectively more or less the northern half of CB7. For those of you who I don't yet know, I'm a lifelong resident of the West Side, father of 3 amazing kids, all at various points of the public school system, one of whom has been walloped by the same flu that apparently has taken out about half the community board, it seems. So I wish everyone on Zoom a speedy recovery. Our office will remain, at least for the foreseeable future, at 245 West 104th Street. My chief of staff is Claire Botnick. She and I are working as quickly as we can to build out the rest of the team so that we can be a comprehensive resource for the needs and concerns and issues and challenges facing Upper West Side residents. I'm cognizant of the time. I will tell you, it is obviously early days in Albany. I'm very proud to have introduced 3 meaningful pieces of legislation that reflect 3 areas of particular concern to me. One is a piece of legislation in response to the dramatic shortage of housing that is affordable for New Yorkers, to create a public revolving loan fund that would enable the creation of much more affordable housing across the state. The second is responsive, and these are all interrelated challenges, to the mental health crisis that we face all around us and throughout the city, to expand the universe of mental health professionals who can be involved in doing the evaluations necessary for involuntary hospitalization when people represent a danger to themselves or others. And the third is a bill to improve coordination between district attorneys and the police department in their efforts to comply with the discovery reforms that the legislature passed 5 years ago, and to do so without any diminution of due process rights for defendants. So those are 3 bills that reflect, again, priorities that I think you'll be hearing from me a great deal about: our housing shortage, our mental health crisis, and our public safety challenges. There will be many more issues that I want to work on. Scaffolding is very much on my list, and I'm working with Senator Hoylman-Siegel on a legislation around sidewalk shed removal, and much, much more to come. So please visit us at 104th Street. Call us if we can be of any service, or you just want to share with us thoughts, and I will be at your disposal, and looking forward to seeing you at many more meetings. Thank you. Do I have time to take a question from Shelley? I don't want to burn up too much time. Okay, I'm sure if Shelley says so, I'm sure that's true, that I will be at the January 28th meeting. But yes, the HELP Act refers to the legislation that I'm working on with Senator Hoylman-Siegel on evaluations for involuntary hospitalization. So, terrific. Well, thank you all so much, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.
Next, we'll turn to State Senator Brad Hoylman-Siegel.
Hi, everyone. Boy, it really sucks for me to have to follow new Assemblymember Michael Asche. It's great to see him, though. I'm State Senator Brad Hoylman-Siegel. Esther, Caroline, my colleague, is there. Happy New Year, everyone. Wanted to touch on a few things. One is that I had 4 bills signed by the governor in the last weeks of the year. One is including the Stop Hiding Hate Act. That was written in response to rising rates of hatred and disinformation online, including anti-Semitism, anti-LGBTQ bias, and racism. The bottom line is social media companies like X have moderation policies that are completely unaccountable. Where we're trying to change that, they're going to have to report their moderation policies to the New York State Attorney General and instances of hate and what they're doing about it. A second, which was a big win, first in the nation law, that will require private health insurers to cover neuropsychological exams for dyslexia and dysgraphia. Some of you know that my own daughter, age 14, has dyslexia. The neuropsychological exams typically cost between $10,000 and $15,000 out of pocket for parents. We're going to now, thanks to the governor signing her bill, require private insurance to cover it. And then finally, a bill called the Parkinson's Registry Act. And this bill we wrote in conjunction with Michael J. Fox and his foundation, which will establish a PD, Parkinson's Disease Registry, to track and inform research on this growing problem, which is a debilitating neuropsychological condition. Finally, the Safe Landings Act, very proud of that, because this law is going to provide protections for young adults to be able to return to family court and enforce outstanding orders, even after they've been released from the foster care system. The hope is that this is going to help young adults have an easier time transitioning out of foster care and give them what we think is a safe landing to begin adulthood. Look, just to follow up, and I don't know how much time I have left because I can't see the timer, but I wanted to let you know that very concerned about recent shootings, West 92nd and 102nd. 2 more kids injured by the ongoing scourge of gun violence. We have to take stronger action to address the gun violence crisis. I passed a bill called the Violence Prevention Legislation, which is going to require and fund violence prevention services for New Yorkers through Medicaid. We're excited to see implementation of this program through the New York State Department of Health. And thanks to the leadership of Assembly Member Rosenthal and Councilmember Brewer and the West 72nd Block Association, we're going to have those new bike corrals on West 72nd Street. I was very happy to support them in their efforts. We're hopeful that this, along with other efforts, are going to make our streets cleaner and safer. And I'm very grateful to Councilmember Brewer for advocating for new officers on in the 2-0. I was excited to see that NYPD is going to be assigning 15 new officers to the precinct, and this reshuffle is a step forward, but it's critical that we continue to address systemic issues behind police retention and availability, including the drop in the number of officers entering the force in the academy. So that's my report. Priorities moving forward in this legislative session. Assemblymember Lasher mentioned the HELP Act, which is going to expand the list of licensed practitioners who can conduct clinical examinations for involuntary hospitalization. We're going to continue to fight ghost guns with Assemblymember Rosenthal. I'm working with Assemblymember Simone on street safety in e-bikes, requiring app delivery companies to provide insurance so that, God forbid, you get hit by an e-bike, you're covered. And we're working with Assemblymember Simone to require commercial e-bike registration. I wanted to thank Councilmember Brewer for her support of our legislation and for inviting me to the City Council to testify before that body. Thank you very much. Happy New Year. Stay in touch. See you in the neighborhood.
Next, we have Daniel Jenkins, who signed up to speak about Riverside Park 108th Street restroom renovation.
And giving me this opportunity to speak. I've never been to a community board meeting. This is my first one. I'm so happy to be here. And I'm showing my novice stature. Okay. I am Dan Jenkins, and I am here on behalf of the growing number of park users who ask that the renovation of the long neglected bathroom at 108th Street in Riverside Park be prioritized. This area includes the promenade, full soccer and basketball fields, 6 basketball courts, 5 pickleball courts, and a full skate park where the derelict bathroom is located. And she's a beauty. There has been a huge spike in usage here in the last 2 years, and in the spring and summer, there are camps and school field days that put the usage numbers in the thousands. Public urination has become, unfortunately, commonplace. Those who avoid drinking face health risks, and the remote location for emergency services increases that risk. The restoration of this beautiful site into a safe and sanitary facility is decades overdue. I have hundreds of signatures here from just one weekend of collecting them, and hundreds more online supporting the community's request. We thank you in advance for finally getting this project rolling. Thank you.
This is Sue Peters.
Hi, I'm Sue Peters. I'm sure you all know me. I'm back because the information is so important, and I just came across a new study I wanted to tell you about. It's published in the Journal of Reproductive Toxicology in November of 2024. And the scientists studied the microwave frequency of antenna waves coming from cell phones, cell towers, wireless base stations on our light poles in our cities, anywhere there's an antenna. They use 4G and 5G frequencies. The study showed significant impacts on reproduction. changes to the structure of cells and tissues and their structure within the cell, seen under the microscope and the electron microscope. This is all done, of course, on animals, right? Significant decrease in sperm viability and motility. Reduced levels of hormones in the testes and ovaries and in the pituitary glands. Levels of oxidative stress increased. The oxygen wasn't being used in the cells properly. Please don't put your cell phones in your pockets, especially for men, but even for women. Don't put your computers on your laps. Think about the radiation, okay, that you don't see. You don't see it, but it's there. Thank you.
Next up, we have Hannah Wienerman at Congressmember Nadler's office.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I hope you had a wonderful start to the new year. The House of Representatives in the new Congress went into session on Friday, so I'll have more updates about legislation and other legislative updates hopefully next month. Congressman Adler and the New York congressional delegation sent a letter to the IRS commissioner urging the IRS to expedite the resolution of a $10 billion backlog of legitimate employment retention credit, or ERC, claims. These claims, established under the CARES Act, are a vital resource to New York's small businesses, including those here on the Upper West Side. Speaking of taxes, New York State and the IRS have expanded the direct filing program that they began as a pilot last year for federal and state taxes. So this expansion extends the eligibility for New Yorkers to file their federal and state taxes online at no cost by covering more tax credits and different types of income. With this expansion, millions of New Yorkers could save an average of $260 in tax preparation fees. You can check out if you're eligible on the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance's website. Like I've been saying at all these other meetings, our federal office is open. We are accepting casework requests through our website at nather.house.gov. If you have any questions, you can call our office at 212-367-750, or you can email me directly at hannah.wienerman@mail.house.gov. Thank you all.
Thank you. Next up, we have Erica Overton at Assemblymember Rosenthal's office.
Hi, everyone. That's Erica Overton from Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal's. She is currently on the train back to Albany, so you are stuck with me for this month. But just a few highlights over the break. The governor the governor signed the Assembly members' first in the nation scalp cooling law. So people who are undergoing chemotherapy, they often lose their hair, and so there is a treatment, it's called scalp cooling, that protects people against hair loss. And so the governor signed it. We are extremely proud of it. We've already gotten emails from people who said this will apply to me. And so large insurers will have to cover that treatment, which they had not before. They said it was medically unnecessary. The next is another first in the nation is our DV car tracking bill. So abusers will often, even if somebody is trying to leave their abuser, they will use their GPS in their car to track them, to find them, to turn off the car, to turn the lights on in the car, turn the heat off. And so we have worked with DV groups on this bill, and we're very happy that it was signed into law in December as well. And so now we're working on new legislation to build off of that. And so car manufacturers will have to, if somebody is a DV survivor, they will have to turn off, and they prove that they attest that they are a DV survivor. They will have to disable the GPS from their car so that the abuser can no longer access it. I know I only have 28 seconds, but really quickly on West 71st Street, I heard Senator Hoylman mention it. The Assembly member has been fighting for 2 years to redesign that intersection. And so we are more than delighted that DOT is now putting in bike corrals to take away the bikes from the middle of the block, which is unsightly. And also we had the scaffolding removed, which we had discussed earlier from one of the buildings so that people can't hide out there. And one last thing, I'm sorry, the Assembly member sent a letter to Mayor Adams and to DA Bragg requesting that they expand the Midtown Community Improvement Coalition. It's a quality of life hub from 34th to 45th Street. And they go around, they help with people who are unhoused. They look at old scaffolding that is up. They go around and they look at sanitation issues. And so we want to expand that model up to the Upper West Side so we can deal with a little bit more with the issues that we're seeing in this neighborhood. So we'll let you know once we have a response from them. But that's it. Just thank you, and I'll see you next month.
Next, we have Sawaiba Shabazz at the Manhattan Borough President's Office.
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. I have a slightly lengthy report, so please bear with me. Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine, together with Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg and City Council member Keith Powers, recently published an op-ed spotlighting the relationship between public safety and scaffolding on our city streets. To address this, the BP has collaborated with the City Council to introduce legislation that will make it easier to complete work to get sheds down in a timely fashion, update the policy on facades of varying materials, and more. The full op-ed is actually available on our website, so feel free to check that out. I know everyone's been waiting for this, so community board applications will go live starting next week. We will formally send out an email to all the existing members. So if you're up for re-election, this is the time to prepare yourself, and then also make sure to check our website. Of course, I'll flag it for Max, who will flag it for you as well. And of course, we look forward to the new, wonderful, amazing members that will join the board. Another very important announcement is about capital funding grants. For those of you who don't know, Manhattan Borough President's Office is limited in funding, but still has grants for schools, city agencies, and or not-for-profit organizations that meet our requirements. So of course, please check out our website. I'm going to share some really important links with Max, who will distribute it among you all in terms of how to apply and where to apply. Lastly, something very wonderful happened. So we all know that affordability has been a huge issue in the city of New York. Not only is housing important, but a roadmap to universal childcare is another thing that's very important. And we are glad to pioneer this change at the City Council. So despite strides made with pre-K and 3K for all, only 24% children under 5 currently benefit from public childcare, leaving most families struggling to find affordable options. Therefore, our office has now built a roadmap to universal childcare, which is called Closing the 0 to 2 Gap. So the highlights are universal through 2, U to 2, ensuring that every type of childcare setting can participate in U through 2, 3K and pre-K, increase pay rates for providers to meet true cost of care, and ensure providers are paid on time. Another highlight, creating the New York City Newborn Support Program, $1,000 for the first month, then $500 each month for 12 months. Also qualifying families at 200% of federal poverty line. Thank you so much. I just also want to highlight that we also are taking note of the recent rise in violence that's taking place in the Upper West Side. Mark Levine actually has a meeting with Commissioner Tisch starting, I believe, end of this week. We have definitely underscored all the recent acts of violence that have taken place in the Upper West Side, and we're doing everything we can to address it in real time. Thank you so much for your wonderful attention, and have a wonderful, warm, hopefully warm rest of your evening.
Thank you. And next up, we have Julia Maenza at the District Attorney's Office.
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. My name is Julia Mayanza. I'm a community engagement coordinator at the Manhattan DA's office. I cover the Upper West Side and the Upper East Side. I wanted to announce a sentencing that we just had for a case from March of 2023. Jamil McIver, who followed a 21-year-old woman into her home and raped her. He has been sentenced to 20 years in state prison after being convicted of rape in the first degree. This horrible case happened my first month in the office. I've obviously profoundly affected me, profoundly affected a lot of young people, and just people generally in the neighborhood. And I know sometimes I had gotten questions, so I wanted to make sure that I updated the group on that. I also wanted to announce a few recent programming announcements that we have. Tomorrow night, we have an info session for applications for our high school summer internship program, 5-week funded, paid for internship, which is a great opportunity to learn more about the criminal justice system. If you have young people in your life, highly recommend that you have them apply. Let me know if you have any questions, or if you want to flag some child you work with, young person you work with. I'm happy to take a look. I also wanted to mention our gun violence prevention fellowship application, which has yet to open but is going to, which is a fellowship where students work within our office for about 3 months and end up giving policy proposals to the DA and the executive team about ways that they can combat gun violence in Manhattan. These are young people who have been affected by gun violence before, and I really highly recommend that if you know people who would fit that description, or you work with people who might be interested, that you would pass along that information, or again, reach out to me, and I'm happy to do so as well. As always, please feel free to reach out with any questions, concerns, ideas, anything like that. My email is mayenza, MAENZAJ, @danny.nyc.gov. Have a great rest of your meeting. Thanks, everyone.
And next we have Eleni DeCiervo at Lincoln Center.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. Happy New Year. Apologize for not being there in person due to childcare. Mariana Brazal will be back next month with the update from Lincoln Center. So first, I want to say thank you so much to everyone that participated in the slew of events we had toward the tail end of December. We hosted the documentary of San Juan Hill with community boards 4 and 7. There was a West community recap and thank you event. And then we hosted a beautiful community potluck at the Sidewalk Studio with several of the leaders, including folks from Community Board 7. So looking forward, we are looking for more ways to partner with members of the community, including Community Board 7. We have a few things coming up. So the applications for our Young Artist Pipeline training program for 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students is open and due on January 17th. We have our Lincoln Center Presents season with tons of free programming and choose what you pay starting at $5. This Sunday, we're hosting Global Fest with our acts from around the world, starting at about 6 p.m., going throughout the evening. And then our Passport to the Arts program, which is for young people, children, teens, adults with disabilities and their families. So registration for the spring season opens on this Friday, January 10th. The other things I wanted to highlight are a few programs from our resident organizations on campus. So on January 23rd, the Juilliard School is hosting a lecture series by Sarah Lewis from the founder of Vision and Justice for Martin Luther King Day. So if you wanted to come, that's a free event that they are hosting. And then the Library for Performing Arts is hosting a ton of free programming, and we invite you to check them out. A few things that I want to call out is they're doing an exhibit right now called The Joffrey and Ballet about Robert Joffrey and his co-founder Gerald Arpino and the ballet company that they founded. And so check out their gallery space. They're also hosting for Holocaust Remembrance Day on January 27th, an event at 6 p.m., also free to the public. And then they have, similar to a book club, a book club for plays. So if you want some fun enjoying your life in 2025, please stop by the Lincoln Center campus and we'll come back to you all next month. Enjoy your meeting.
Thank you. And next up, we have Yahara Mejia at the New York Public Library.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Jahara Mejia from the Bloomingdale Library. I just have one program that we offering again this year with single stop. So it's free tax preparation at the library. So these are there are e-files starting February 1st all the way through April 15th. They will be doing tax prep Thursdays and Saturdays. Thursdays from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It is by appointment. And the appointment they will start taking appointments starting January 15th. So either you can stop by the Bloomingdale Library, or if you email singlestoptaxbloomingdale@gmail.com, they can send you a link as well. And eventually it will be also live from our website. And this is a great service, and it's open to anyone who wants to have free tax preparation. And one other thing, we also have, just like St. Agnes Library, when you can meet with a social work student intern. So we're lucky to have one at Bloomingdale as well on Mondays and Thursdays. They're there to assist anybody who wants, to be connected with services related to housing, shelter, mental health support, and much more. And those are my updates from the Bloomingdale Library. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Next up, we have Evelyn Collado at the Comptroller's Office.
Thank you. Good evening. It's Evelyn Collado, Manhattan Borough Director for New York City Comptroller Brad Lander. Earlier today and before the break, the holiday break, I shared our office newsletter, notably with some announcements on our NYCHA audit report, which we conducted for the first time on issues that were picked, especially by NYCHA residents. I also would like to note that we put out a report on micromobility in the city, basically a series of recommendations for making the city safer when it comes to fast-moving two-wheel vehicles in the city, electrical bikes and scooters and the like. Tonight, I also would like to point out a couple of accomplishments by our office, which we are really excited to share with you for the past year, for 2024. And it's one, our office had the largest ever city pensions annual investment return of 10%. This is the largest ever for our office. And we did that while diversifying our shareholders' engagement, basically a lot of social bonds on climate and also mindful of worker rights stipulations. That means that almost $2 billion will go back to the city coffers to pay, for things that we paid in the system. Also, I want to share that on the housing affordability front, we have made significant investments, the largest ever. We invested to preserve over 35,000 affordable housing units that were at risk after the collapse of Signature Bank. And also invested $2 billion for 7,000 units of affordable housing. So we have much more than that at our newsletter. I also share with the, with the board, is on the electors reports. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact us. Thank you.
That concludes the signups for the public session.
Okay, I would like to call for our roll call. So if board members will take out their phones and look at their CB7 voting number. And if you are here or online, please put in yes. Is that correct, Michael? Is that the way we're doing it? Yes. Sorry. All right, anybody who has a connection and they can do it, please do it. If you are not getting a return message that your vote has been counted, then raise your hand. But let's, sorry? I can't. If your phone does not record your vote, raise your hand if you're present. Anybody who can vote electronically, I seem to be able to. Okay. Please raise your hand if you have not been able to get a response that your vote is recorded. And leave your hand up. Only board members, obviously. If you can vote online, do so. And if you do so and get a response, that's good. If you do not get a response, raise your hand so Michael can make a note. The best laid plans sometimes don't work. Yeah. Okay. Yes. All right, we will take a minute or two to get this correct before we go on. Yes, I understand. Is this okay? Excellent.
Hello, hello, hello. If anyone needs to access the network information is on the screen right now. The password is on the screen. Everyone, just if we could focus on the information up there so we can handle our votes later. Otherwise, it'll be a very long night. So if you need to access the Wi-Fi now, the information is on the screen.
Is there anyone who either has not voted on the roll call or who feels their vote may not have been recognized by Michael through a hand? Okay. All right, then we will move right along. Because of some difficulty, may I have some quiet? I know it's hard to hear in here, and it gets even harder when others are talking. So please. I'd like to move, as I said at the first, I neglected to announce one person who is attending by waiver. That's Sophia Vala, who has traveled. She was not on my initial list, but she did request and receive a waiver. So that's corrected. I would like to turn to the BCI committee, Business and Consumer Issues, first, because Ben, who will be presenting those items, is online and has a deadline to meet here. So with that, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Ben. Are you there,
Great.
Ben?
Yeah, I'm here. Can everyone hear me? I can hear an echo, so I can, it sounds like everyone can hear me, so.
We hear you.
Okay, fantastic. So I don't know if I'm on blown up on the screen and I have like an 8-foot-high head, but in any case, great to see everyone, at least online. So we have 3 items today. The first is the 2025 Street Festival schedule in our district, which we discussed. We had representatives from the Clearview Festival, the producer who throws the or really arranges and organizes and throws the events. They joined us to answer questions, as well as some members from the sponsors for some of the events. Some of the topics discussed included potential impact to traffic, as well as some overlapping dates with other events. However, after discussion, we ultimately approved to have this public hearing on applications to the street activity permit office for these street festivals as per the schedule here. It was voted unanimously 5-0 for committee members, 2-0 for non-committee members. That's all I had. Any questions, topics from the committee board?
I think not. We can call the question and vote on this item.
Great. Those
Just
voting...
wait one moment till Michael gets ready.
Oh, sure. And if Michael wants to do it too as well, I don't. Bad if he doesn't.
All right, please vote on this item. Yes, no, abstain, or cause if you are not eligible for cause.
Is anyone having difficulty that's in this room with voting? Have you gotten confirmations, or is anyone having any rejection messages? Okay, good. Looks like we got all of them. Okay, so we have one. Andrew, Albert, how do you wish to vote? Affirmative?
Go ahead. All right, we're closing the vote. Michael, do you want to announce it?
Vote passes 32-0-20.
Ben, your second item?
Yes, sorry, I was on mute. Thank you, Michael. The second item is an alteration application. It is for Bodega 88. It's the same operator and method and hours of operations. It was also unanimously approved. There were no objections in the community. It's fairly straightforward. It's for the expansion of the premises into an adjacent space to accommodate an additional 36 tables, 88 seats, and 8 bar stools. And we approved it 5-0 committee and 2-0 for non-committee board members.
Okay, Michael, are we? We're good to go? Okay, good to vote on item number 2.
Give it another 10 seconds. Anyone having issues now? I'll let you know in a second. Seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, motion passes 33-0-0-0.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Okay, I'll move on to the third item. The third item was a resolution to establish an Upper Broadway Business Improvement District. Just for everyone's information, the Business Improvement Districts, or BIDs, are community groups of local businesses, property owners, and community members that are focused on improving the area across a variety of areas, including sanitation, beautification of public spaces, promoting and supporting local businesses, and cultural offerings. There exists currently BIDs for Lincoln Square, Columbus Avenue, and Columbus Amsterdam. However, there lacks one for Upper Broadway from the 80s and up. We voted unanimously to support the exploration of creating an Upper Broadway bid and to work with the Broadway Mall Association. And this was put forth by Alex and Barbara. So don't want to steal any thunder if Alex and Barbara, you want to, add / comment.
Linda, if you have a question, come up here. The question was, what is the street?
I think that's part of the exploration process. We had talked about 85th to 103, I think, but that is still to be determined via the exploration and discussion process. But it would not overlap with existing districts.
Linda, if you're going to come on to the mic because we can't hear you. Okay, are we ready to vote?
I think Clary had a question.
I do have a question. I have a question.
Please.
Yeah, can you hear me? I hope.
Yes.
Yeah, I read the resolution, Ben, and I think the previous answer was helpful because it was silent. The resolution was silent as to what the area was that you're talking about. But I still think it's very confusing because Upper Broadway to me means nothing in our district. Broadway goes for another 5 miles or something after our district. And I just thought it's sort of not optimal to be talking about Upper Broadway as opposed to something in the resolution that at least focuses on our district.
I mean, I'd be fine if we adjust it so that it is clear that it focuses on the portion of Broadway that's within our district.
I mean, people would understand that's what we're interested in, but it's just not Upper Broadway is somewhere else.
Yeah, I think it was, I think we were thinking it was implied, but happy to
Anyway,
clarify.
just a suggestion.
So Ben, are you adopting as a friendly amendment that amendment that has been suggested by Clary?
As long as it doesn't require 7 additional votes, and I remember some of the processes, if it's just one vote, I think that's perfectly fine.
That's fine. Okay. The question, I think, was called. Are we ready to vote? Voting is live for the third item.
Three, two, one. Okay, motion passes 33-0-0-0.
Great. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for the accommodation to start a little bit earlier. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ben. We're turning now to the order in which the agenda was actually published. The next item is one coming from the Executive Committee. We received from the Borough President the information regarding a letter he has written and an offer for us to sign on to it. Because this was after any of our committee meetings last month, the Executive Committee, under a provision of the bylaws, voted unanimously that we should sign the letter, which the deadline for which was yesterday. That vote, however, needs to be ratified by the full board since it came from the Executive Committee. I circulated a number of days ago to the board members the letter itself and an explanation of the context for it. Very briefly, this letter requests that the legislature for the second time approve the no cap legislation, which would remove the cap on the number of Supreme Court justices in the state, allowing for the hire of additional justices to relieve the backlog, which is enormous across the state and in Manhattan and in the other 4 boroughs. This cap was created in 1846 and it's not been expanded since the 1960s. And of course, the number of cases has dramatically increased as well. Our Executive Committee has, again, thought that this was a significant matter on which our board ought to be weighing in, but it's to you folks to ratify that decision. The actual letter itself was circulated to you, and we can make that available online as well. Any questions or comments? Richard.
It's an admirable letter, but I'm curious as to why there was a deadline of the day before our full board.
That was the deadline he submitted to all of the community boards across the city. So he could get... I can't answer that question.
Anyone who wants to speak should speak in the microphone because the people at home can't hear you.
All right, very briefly, the question is why the artificial deadline of yesterday?
I don't know that it was artificial and that it isn't connected to some deadline at the state level. I just don't know that information. I just received it as a deadline. Thank you.
Okay, I think in the future we should push back on these deadlines if it means having a deadline before a board meeting. It puts an undue burden on the Executive Committee.
Andrew Ritchie?
I apologize if I missed it in the letter, but these justices, are they appointed or are they elected?
They're elected. These are Supreme Court justices of the state of New York. There are many temporary appointments because permanent appointments haven't been available because of this cap. And therefore, you don't have fully necessarily experienced or qualified people doing this particular work. Jay, you had a question as well?
No. As to the deadline, my guess is that since Wednesday is the opening day for the state legislature, they probably wanted to get it in prior to the opening.
In any case, we did not receive the information regarding this until after our last committee meeting of December, so we would have had to find another way to permit this to be heard by full board in any case. So with that, I would like to, if no one else has any concerns or questions, I'd like to call for a vote.
Anyone with tech issues? Still. Andrew, are you good? You're good to go. You can. 10 more seconds. Three, two. Okay, motion passes 33-0-0-0.
Thank you. I call on Tibita Kaneene and Seema Reddy, who is online, to represent the Housing and Land Use Committee.
Thank you, Beverly. So we have a resolution which is in support of a affordable housing building at West 108th Street. So phase one of this building has already been completed. It was 195 units. And this is in support of phase two, which will be 88 units, 22 studios, and 66 one-bedroom units, 40 of which are set aside for people previously experiencing homelessness. And this is, I should say, this is a project by the West Side Federation of Senior Supportive Housing, Wishfish. And so this resolution is in support of that. This resolution this housing building will need funding by LIHTC, low-income housing tax credit. So this resolution will submit our support for that and other funding. So any questions? Okay. Very good work, sir. Okay. Shall
if we should just use the microphone so folks at home can hear. Yeah, you have to say it again, Shelley.
Okay. Okay, I think I have to recuse myself because January 1st, I celebrated my 25th anniversary as president of the West Side Federation for Senior and Supportive Housing. Okay? But I don't know how to vote.
Yes.
I can't abstain because, do I just not vote? What's that? Cause, I'll write cause, okay. Thank you.
I have a, what is the address?
It's 105 West.
105, okay.
West
so-
108th Street.
Great, and how many units again are?
88 units.
Thank you.
Audrey.
Hi. The first section that was built a number of years ago is beautiful. Some of us have visited. It's a beautiful building. The people who live there are very happy. The services are wonderful, and we really need the expanded building. We're lucky to have a site that's owned by the city so that the purchase of the land was not really an issue. It was something like $1. So I support it with all of my heart.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rosenberg has her hand raised on Zoom.
Yeah, sorry I missed the committee meeting for this, but just two quick questions. One is, I assume that we're not approving any like rezoning actions. This was all included in the rezoning from, sorry, I can't recall what year we voted on it now. But there's no zoning actions request here. And two is, do we know like what funding program they're going to be using from HPD? Like, is it senior housing? Is it supportive housing?
There's no zoning change in this resolution. And to your second question, they will use LIHTC, long-term housing tax credit, but we're not clear on all the funding. There might be other types of funding, but we're not clear on that yet. Can we call the question?
Yeah, we can open the voting.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Shelley, we see your vote.
Ten more seconds, please. Okay. 2, 1. Okay, motion passes 31-0-1-1.
So thank you, Tibita. I call on Preservation Committee, Adam and Madge, to come and handle your items.
You want a handheld mic?
Yeah.
You hold it straight to you.
Okay, this is a building at 167 West 85th Street. It's a brownstone, and already there is a 3-story half-width addition in the back. They're proposing to make it a 4-story full-width addition in the back. We've already approved several very much like this in the district. This is a historic district, and Landmarks Committee has approved all of them. Next picture, please. This is what the present rear yard. Can we have the next one, please? And this is the new one, the proposed. You see it's 4 stories high. It's not visible from the street in the front because the building's 5 stories high. There's a balcony on the top of the 4th story. And the buildings on the other side of the donut are mainly tall buildings on 86th Street. Next, please. That's the existing rear yard, building with the rear yard addition, and the next picture will show you the proposed. Disappeared. Anyway, they're filling in that little space at the top to put the other floor. And this is the backyard now, and the new backyard will have a hardscape, but the architect says that they're going to work hard to make it as permeable as possible, and it'll have landscaping around the sides. That's it. Any questions? Call the question.
Another like 15 seconds. Anyone having issues voting? Okay, 5 more seconds. 2, 1. Okay, motion passes 30-0-0.
The next item we're going to discuss is 120 to 125 Riverside Drive. We have a number of speakers who would like to speak on this issue. Unfortunately, we need to be out of this room at 9 o'clock this evening, so we are going to ask that all speakers limit themselves to a minute and a half, 90 seconds, and I'm going to turn it over to Alex to call the speakers who have signed up. If you did not sign up and you're in the room or online, we will make sure you have an opportunity to speak at the end. Thank you.
I'll be calling the speakers in the order that they signed up. The first person is Hugh McCormick.
Here we are. I'm going to cut this down a little bit. When you've been through 7 or 8 years of construction, both interior and exterior, and you can't remember when you have been through 7 or 8 years of construction, both interior and exterior, and you can't remember the building without a sidewalk bridge or the elevator without construction blankets duct taped together, when your own floor, while you were its sole resident, underwent a 13-month demolition and construction, combining 2 apartments into one, and the dust and debris were ever present because no protocol was established for the common area. And at the same time, while out your back door, so much brickwork and drilling and welding were going on that the brick and mortar dust on your air conditioner was an inch thick again and again.
30 seconds.
Okay. If this project is approved, and I'm not speaking out necessarily in opposition, what can we, the residents, reasonably request? And what can we realistically, based upon past experience, expect? That whatever the building's legacy problems are, that they be fixed completely before a new structure is built. Solve the original structure's problems, all of them, before building on top of it. 2, that 120's elevator never be used as a construction lift again.
Please wrap up.
That in its place an external construction lift be used. That the project be completed.
Thank you.
In the least amount of time possible. If the Sterrett brothers could build the Empire State Building in 13 months, that this project be organized.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Yamini Krishnamurthy, who is on Zoom.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is. I live on the 9th floor at I drive with my month-old baby. I'm speaking today to application for proposed roof and restoration parapet. First, regarding the restoration, I urge the board to require a safety to understand why the was originally removed. The fragility of the structure is a concern.
It's difficult to hear you.
Oh. Is this any better?
So far.
Okay. My first concern is regarding the parapet restoration. I urge the board to require a safety study to understand why the parapet was originally removed. The fragility of a structure is a concern, and it's critical that we learn from post decisions to ensure that we're not compromising the building safety for historical value. I recommend that approval for the parapet restoration be bifurcated from the rooftop addition, with any approval for the rooftop addition conditioned upon completion of the parapet. Moreover, the proposed construction would cause significant disruption to the building's tenants. Many residents, including families such as ours, have babies and elderly residents who cannot use the stairs and will be severely affected by loss of elevators and the noise from the construction. The local 11 work that has been ongoing has been totally inadequate at protecting us from the noise and disruption and has resulted in significant disruption to our baby's sleep and well-being.
Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Jesse Gordon.
Good evening. My name is Jesse Gordon. I'm a tenant at 125 5C, speaking in opposition to the proposal. I'd like to start by pointing out to the board that I believe the proposal itself is deficient on its face, in as much as that it fails to state that these are two separate buildings, 120 and 125 Riverside Drive. Two tax lots, two blocks and lots, and the proposal does not address that in any way, and therefore does not address the needs of each individual building and the impacts that it will have. Accordingly, I would request that before this be passed, that the person putting it forward amend the proposal so that it address the fact that it's two separate buildings. Procedurally, I'd also like to remind the board that several years ago, you turned down this same proposal from a previous owner, and nothing has changed. In fact, the building is in worse condition than it was. So if precedent and consistency is important to this board, I urge you to keep that in mind. As well, I would just like to say that the building has numerous violations. There is still a partial vacate in place. The infrastructure is not sufficient to sustain what's being proposed. I too would encourage the board to ask that the building first address all of the violations and construction issues, the partial vacate orders,
10 more seconds.
prior to moving this forward. So I think it's important that this application, again, be considered in light of the fact that this is two buildings with two tax lots, and that was not addressed in the proposal.
Thank you.
Susan Manka. Is Susan here in person? What's the name? Susan Manka.
Hello, Susan Manka. Oh, one moment.
Susan's comment. Susan is in Australia. We have been tenants in 125 Riverside Drive for over 45 years. During this time, there have been numerous leaks and breaches of the roof. She's talking about the 125 roof, including recently. Each time there is a leak, the roof has been patched but never fully fixed. Mr. Vail said in the December board meeting that he would wait a year or two before commencing work on the rooftop additions. We hope that the roof will be inspected, fixed, or replaced in that time and declared safe to support 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a terrace. Is there a Department of Buildings procedure to do so? Is her question.
Thank you.
Nancy Beal Mostow.
Just make sure you pull it down.
Okay. As I reported to the Community Board 7 on December 12th, we got our apartment back after 3 years of shoring. And in November, the water pipe in the bathroom broke behind the wall. And on December 2nd, the steam pipe, the riser, broke, and all the steam made all the plaster on the ceiling in the bedroom fall down. Okay, 2 weeks after that meeting, December 15th, it rained. In our apartment, it rained buckets, literally. It rained all night. I was pouring the water out, getting my hair wet from the water coming in, and this is a wall that has been repaired 3 times, and it is the wall, we're on the top of the building. This is the top of the building. The whole line there has been leaking. Okay, we live with these chronic problems. There are workers in our apartment, 11 days in December before Christmas.
30 seconds, please.
What discourages me most is what I watched at the at the the community board meeting, at the end of the meeting, they asked the question, is this appropriate? And they went around, and one person after another said, yeah, this is appropriate, this is appropriate. I feel that no amount of complaining from the old timers is going to stop this
10 seconds, please.
terrible plan.
Thank you.
We have Raul Kennedy. Is Raul here? I don't see Raul on Zoom either. So I'll move to Martha Kennedy. I also don't see Martha on Zoom. In that case, I'll move to Joan McKinty. McEnany.
Good evening. So much of what I was going to say has been already covered, so I'm just going to pick and choose here. I've been a resident of 125 Riverside Drive, the top floor, for 47 years. And I'm with a friend and neighbor here tonight, among other neighbors, who has lived on the 8th floor for 58 years. And I'll just tell you a few of the things that I've experienced since I've been there. The roof has leaked, I'm on the top floor, for decades. The gas that powers stoves and ovens was shut off for years without any indication as to when it would return. The heating system has been intermittent and during certain winters non-existent. The elevators have been in and out of service, and these problems continue in some form to this day. The retaining walls of the buildings are still under repair, as they have been for over 4 years. The owners of these landmark buildings have not been good stewards. So therefore,
30 seconds, please.
I believe that this committee should demand that the new owners complete their repairs of the landmark elements of the buildings prior to this new construction, or at the very least that they repair the roofs that they expect to support these large new structures. How could they be entrusted to proceed with the new structure when they've left the existing one in such
5
dire
seconds.
condition? Thank you.
Elizabeth Baird Walton.
Bear with me. Elizabeth's points are, I think, have pretty much been made. She wants assurance that the project will not, and Jesse addressed this, will not in any way deem 120, 125 to be one building, thus imperiling the 2 doormen at each entrance, which we have proved to HPD is absolutely necessary. The architect made them sound as if they were one building. That's a concern. There needs to be a discussion of the project's effects on tenants, more scaffolding, disruption in various services, including elevator, power, water. All of these things are going to be affected. The architect talks about a difficult time recently, but what would this mean? The roof is at local 11 standards, question mark.
30 seconds, please.
Why all the leaks? Strength for this project, not to mention 2 common terraces. Is it 1 or 2 on the roof of the private terrace? Anyway, I think Jesse covered that. Everybody has concerns.
Thank you.
This agenda item is Petra Shoulder.
Hi, my name is Petra Shoulder. I want to thank the lady for allowing me to speak and not holding my previous attendance against me when I spoke when I wasn't allowed. Here is what happened during the past several months. 1 day a week, July, August, September, October, the water had to be shut down every week because the construction workers who spoke several languages did not communicate, did not know about the pipes that they were banging on. This will be multiplied 12 times when construction, if it happens, on roofs of 2 buildings. These are who these people employ to save money, to achieve more money for penthouses that will be built on the roof. How do I know this? Because for 25 years, I was employed first by by Halstead, then Brown Harris Stevens. And also, my family is Steinberg and Pecoik, established 1914 at 575 Madison Avenue. I know who the owners are. I know about real estate, how it works. Okay?
30 seconds, please.
So, yes, dear, I know about time. I speak very quickly. So, they put now nice chandeliers, fancy. They have velvet ropes in front of 125 Riverside Drive. There's no building in New York that has velvet ropes in front of it. But they employ not so smart construction workers that don't know what they're doing, ran all over the building, working on 18 apartments at the same time.
5 seconds, please.
They will do destruction, more destruction, to build to a building, and they don't know what they're doing, will
Thank you.
cause havoc.
Thank you.
15 years ago, land was shattered.
Thank you. The time is up. Thank you. Thank you. That's the time.
Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you, whoever allowed me to speak. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jesse.
Alex, are there any other speakers? Ma'am, is it easier?
Yes, do you want to hold the microphone? Whatever you'd like.
It's okay. Hi, my name is Bobby Friedman. Most of these tenants live at 125 Riverside Drive. I live at 120 Riverside Drive. Thankfully, I don't have the same complaints that they do about the structure of the building. I know what their complaints are, and I know how valid they are. I managed the building for a long time, so I know that when a tenant complains, they're complaining about something real most of the time. In 120, the elevator is the size of a bathroom, and, well, a very small bathroom, a closet bathroom. And I am very concerned, as I use a walker right now, and there are tenants who have babies in strollers, that something will happen to the elevators while the construction is being done, because they will be bringing up construction material in that elevator. We'll have to wait for the construction guys to finish going up and down and up and down, and if something goes wrong with the elevator, that's the only elevator that there is, and I cannot walk up 5 flights of stairs. There's a tenant on the 9th floor that has an infant. They're not going to be able to walk up the 9 floors. And I find that in general, the landlord making an effort to do things doesn't think about us as tenants. And that's really my issue, that they need to think about their tenants before thinking about just themselves.
Thank you.
We have 2 more speakers. 2 of the speakers that I went to are now here on Zoom. First, we'll go to Raul Kennedy.
Yeah, my name is Raul Kennedy. I'm one of the tenants on the 9th floor, and I too am concerned about the elevator, since at some point, if this project goes ahead, it's going to have to be extended to go up to the 10th and 11th floor, and how that's going to be done in a matter of minutes or hours or even days seems highly problematical. I hope that'll be taken into consideration. Would also like to briefly mention the parapet. For some reason, it was removed in 1931. Nobody seems to know why. I suggest that unless and until we know whether that was for safety or other reasons, work on that project ought to be suspended. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lastly, Martha Kennedy.
Good evening. Hello. I'm Martha Kennedy. I'm on the 9th floor, and We also need to have an operative elevator in order for our daily existence. We cannot be walking up and down 9 flights of stairs. My concern is during the time that the elevator is renovated and extended, we will not have access. We will either be housebound in the apartment or not have access to the apartment. The extension of the elevator will reasonably take weeks, if not months. It's not acceptable for us to have to be using whatever conveyance is being used to lift materials up to the rooftop level. We cannot be going across a work zone, a hard hat work zone, trying to get in and out of the building, nor can we be crawling in and out of fire escapes to get to
30
an
seconds,
external
please.
elevator. Okay, parapet, also agree it's a safety hazard. The idea of putting something that is ceramic back up on the building, you know what the winds have been like. We already
10
are
seconds.
materials falling off the facade in the short time we've been here. Finally, you need to consider your partner.
Thank
Is
you.
your partner taking care of the basic infrastructure? I think not. Thank you.
The signups.
One moment.
Excellent. I'm going to now briefly walk through the presentation. I'm sure people are curious about this. This is a building 120 Riverside Drive and 125 Riverside Drive. The application is to restore a non-extant parapet and add a penthouse. If we move to the next slide. This is the building as it exists today. And if we move to the next slide. This is the building with the penthouse and the addition. If you look here, this is the new parapet, which will hide the new addition from the street. If we go to the next slide. This is the extant building on the left. This is the building on the right. As you can see, there's this new trellis parapet that was original to the building. As people discussed, it was removed in the late 1930s. This would restore this kind of incredible terracotta parapet, and in doing so, it would hide the new extension above. And if we move to the next slide. As you can see from the other angle, again, you can't see the actual building as it's set back and hidden between the behind the restoration of this parapet. And I think there's one final slide. This shows what the new addition would look like. And as you can see, the building is set back behind this parapet. I want to respond to some of the comments that we heard today. We heard there's a question about whether the resolution discussed that it was separate buildings. The first clause in the resolution notes them as being on separate tax lots. This is a new application. The board is not beholden to prior decisions that we made previously. I'd also like to note that Councilwoman Brewer is in the audience, and I'm sure she can be extraordinarily supportive in dealing with some of the violations that you have discussed. The committee discussed this application as well as everything we heard in December. We determined that within the scope of the Preservation Committee, unanimously, and one non-committee member who joined, that this was appropriate for the historic district. If there is someone who would like to make a friendly amendment asking that we add something to the resolution, such as that work not begin until all violations are ameliorated, I would accept that amendment. I will, however, flag that we discussed that in the Preservation Committee meeting and determined that that was outside of the gamut of what the Preservation Committee does, but welcome further discussion on that, as well as any questions about the application.
I'd like to make that a friendly amendment.
Yeah, in the past, we've broken that down into two amendments, two resolutions. One that addresses the jurisdiction of landmark and preservation, and another that addresses the buildings issues. And my suggestion is that we not include the amendment in the resolution that came from your committee, but that we pass a separate resolution to the same effect.
Yeah, in good conscience, I can't vote for and support this resolution as written, given the dereliction of duty by the landlord, but I do second Roberta's friendly amendment that which would include contingent upon repairs satisfactory to. Yeah.
And I'd like it to be in the resolution, not a separate resolution.
Clary has her hand raised as well.
Sheldon, can you wait until we have the microphone, please?
If there's an amendment that's been seconded, then we have to vote on that first.
Thank you. Yes, but there was a comment on the friendly amendment that requested that it be separate. So I think yours has precedence.
I don't want to hold up everybody. It's fine if it's in the same. What I would suggest, though, is that we, in the amended resolution, we enumerate the problems that were discussed today, and recommend that no building permit be issued until they're cleared.
Just some information. First of all, this project cannot commence until the violations are cured, and DOB won't issue the necessary permits for construction until those violations are cured. The building is inspected and DOB is satisfied that it's clear to begin. That's just the way the law works. We gave an enormous amount of time at the committee to listen to the complaints of the tenants, some of whom were at the committee meeting, and they are valid complaints. I have no reason to question them. You should know that, and I don't know how long they've been there, but the tenants advised us that these are new owners of the building, and much of that history is because of the dereliction of the previous owners. And there's...
Can we try to keep this directed to the question of the amendment, just for the sake of time?
Well, this is to the entire resolution. But as far as the amendment, it's fine. It's basically harmless. It repeats what the reality is anyway.
Thank you, Jay. So we should vote on the amendment, or rather the resolution as amended, if we're taking it as a friendly amendment. Okay, let's vote on the amendment.
Is there anyone online who wanted to speak?
Yes. Clary?
Yes.
Do you still have
thank you.
comments?
Yes, I do. So I'm a member of the committee, and we did have a lengthy, thoughtful hearing, I think, on this. I think it would have been more helpful if our committee co-chairs had presented and explained the project prior to the public speakers tonight. But anyway, it is what it is. So there's a obviously a horrible history with prior owners in this building, and just horrendous, heartrending stories, many of which were repeated tonight. They are not within the jurisdiction of the Preservation Committee, or for that matter, Community Board 7. I think the amendment is harmless, but meaningless as well, because we have no role in what we would ask for there. It sounded as if these very, very, very sympathetic and long-suffering tenants had not in any organized way, or even less so, over the number of years they had been suffering from the prior owner, had not really been obtaining assistance, which surely would have been forthcoming from their council person, from their state representatives, from perhaps the borough president, even from CB7. We strongly suggested to them that they organize and do that, and I think we very much encourage them to do that and hope that they will do that, because that's a much more effective way for them to have their problems addressed and resolved than for CB7 to have an amendment that says you got to fix these, you got to fix the place before you do the additions. What I wanted to say, though, about what was before us and is before us here tonight is I think it is not entirely accurate to say that this wonderful parapet restoration of this very intricate terracotta parapet that disappeared, I think somebody said 1931, it's not entirely clear that that will entirely mask from public view in Riverside Park and along south along Riverside Drive, the penthouse addition that is proposed for 120, I think it is, the shorter building that is the more southerly one. The parapet is a wonderful restoration. We were very enthusiastic about it. It will partially obscure views of the proposed penthouse addition, but I think it is not realistic to vote for this on the assumption that it will totally do so. Even so, we at the committee felt that what was within our purview, namely the parapet restoration and the proposed penthouse, were reasonably appropriate to the historic district. And with all sympathy and good wishes to the many long-suffering tenants, that's where we ended up.
Clary, we need you to finish up.
I did.
Okay, thank you. We have a friendly amendment. We're gonna, if someone would like to call the question, we'll vote on the resolution with the friendly, as amended.
No,
We're voting on the resolution with the friendly amendment. What is the amendment? The amendment is that no work shall take place on this until all of the violations have been cured. Again, the resolution passed unanimously in committee, and we are adding this saying no work until the violations are cured. Thank you.
The vote is now open.
We are now voting on the resolution as amended. Thank you.
Voting is open. Voting is open. Just a reminder to folks, we have about 35 minutes left in this space, 35 minutes. We still have 5 resolutions to get through. So just 10 more seconds. Three, two, one. Motion passes as amended, 26-200. Sorry, 26-220. Sorry. 28-220. That's final.
Okay. Thank you, Adam and Madge. Parks. Natasha and Daria.
Am I the last one?
No.
So I'm not standing between.
Transportation and
Ah.
Okay, I am Dari. I'm presenting the resolution related to Verdi Square. We were approached by Parks and Friends of Verdi Square about this project with the goal being threefold. The first is to provide water service. The second is to improve accessibility. And the third is to increase lighting. You can go to slide 9. Hi, can you move to slide 9? Okay, this is Verdi Square. The triangle on the upper right, that is the Parks Department property. Everything else is managed by the MTA because that is a transportation hub. Slide 12. One of the things that this park lacks is an effective irrigation system. So one of the project goals is to install a few devices that's going to take water from the main line on Amsterdam and redirect it into the park so that hoses can attach to it and water the plantings. And this is for the gardens on both the MTA side and the park side. Slide 13. The second goal is to provide ADA accessible entrances and pathways in the seating area behind the Verdi Monument. Right now, the pathway is covered by a mat, the same type of mat that you would see on a beach. It's not very ADA, it's not very accessible, and also the pathway is accessed via a ramp. Slide 17. So this is the proposed new entrances. You can see that now it's going to be flushed. It's going to be made of asphalt. It's going to be surrounded by gravel. There's going to be a rail. And so that curb is eliminated, and this makes it more accessible and easier to navigate. In the resolution, though, we did request that they explore alternative methods because we were concerned about damage from chairs and tables. Slide 22. And finally, the third goal in this project is to improve lighting in Verdi Square. So we understand that the lack of lighting really led to, has resulted in some significant dark areas. In particular, the ones next to the North Subway entrance and also the one down here. In fact, we're concerned that the dark entrances, the dark spots encourage problems like loitering, drug use, discarded needles, etc. So there was even a fire, I think, at one of the bellies down there. The Parks Department is proposing to put those 6 new light poles in, which are the red dots. I'm sorry, so this is 73rd Street, this is Amsterdam, this is Broadway, so it's on the side. But our committee felt that the proposed lighting is more of an urgent public safety issue matter. And even though the MTA tried to address it recently, it really didn't make any difference, the lighting. So we requested that the lighting enhancement also be immediately prioritized over, above the North Subway entrance, and requested them to explore possible interim or temporary lighting. So the committee members and non-committee members felt that these were all welcome changes. The resolution passed unanimously in the committee with a vote of 9 to 0 to 0 to 0, and with non-committee members with a vote of 3 to 0 to 1 to 0. Questions?
Thank you, Daria.
Just another 10 seconds, folks. Anyone having issues with your? Yeah. Just a few more votes. 5, 4, 3. Okay. Okay, we're going to stop the voting. Total vote is 30-0-0-0.
Thank you. I'd like to move right along because we're short on time. Transportation is next.
It's Elizabeth and Andrew here. So 3 resolutions to present to you all tonight. The first deals with our favorite topic of secondary street renamings. Spent a lot of time at the committee level discussing this. I hope you either came yourselves or read what we wrote and also had a chance to look through Gail's materials that she has written about street renamings, in particular about her proposal requiring that the city post on a website biographical information pertaining to street name changes. So the first resolution on the street naming guidelines has 3 sort of points of fact when taking into consideration what we're resolving to do. The first, CB7 has published this guideline for processing secondary street co-naming requests. It's in Google Drive, so you can all see it if you haven't already. I mentioned Gail already and sponsoring the local law 104 from 2023. And then upon recommendation by CB7, requests for secondary street co-namings are presented to a city council for a vote. Those were all facts for this. So we have resolved the following. It's basically parts A, B, C, and then in part D, there are sort of an and and or. I can read them to you, but in the interest of time, I will just go right along. I think most of you have seen this already. I would point out that the one thing in item D, to honor individuals with a street renaming, we also, and I want to very much give a shout out to Carey Alexander, who really did a lot of research among what other boards were doing on this topic in particular. So thank you, Carey, for taking the time on the committee to do this. This is really crafted by him, so he gets a big shout out from us. But we spent a lot of time discussing item number D, which was individual honorees, that they must have been deceased for at least 10 years and have had an extraordinarily and highly acclaimed accomplishment or involvement for the public good linked to the CB7 district and the street proposed for the co-naming, or they needed to have been a key person in event of historical note, so a worldwide personality, but somebody whose death occurred under extraordinary circumstances, crime, accident, disease, societal problem, if their death led to a greater awareness within society on a particular issue. And then perhaps most relevant to us is an individual, this is an or, somebody who has brought significant changes throughout their involvement to CB7. So think about a principal or a teacher or somebody who may not live in the district but has worked or spent significant time in the community board district and brought really meaningful change that is worthy of a street renaming. And then we have, obviously guidelines for nonprofits, how the application process works. And again, I think Carey's afforded himself the chance to answer the opportunity if you do have specific questions about items, but we did pass this resolution unanimously in committee, or 10-0 to 1-0, one abstention. So any questions? Yeah.
We're going to bring you the mics.
Thanks. I did have a question, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
I like the street namings, and I don't know why they just can't be taken on a case-by-case basis, and why we have to wait until the person is deceased 10 years before they have the opportunity to have their name there. I mean, after 9/11, Josh Rosenthal Way is named on 72nd Street, named for Helen Rosenthal's brother, and many other people who died in 9/11 have street renamings everywhere in the city. It seems crazy to me, and I mean, I would trust the committee to make that decision whether or not somebody is worthy, whether they died a little while ago or whether they died 50 years ago.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, we did consider the time period. We looked at what other boards how they approached this over the 10-year period, and deemed sort of that 10 years was a time period that we wanted to balance people whose lives had been lost and were front and center in people's mind, with people 10 years later who would still remember them. So we wanted that 10-year period to be there. I mean, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I just want to, I hear what you're saying, Barbara, and God forbid there's any kind of event that is anything like a 9/11. I'm sure the committee would take that into consideration, and I'm hoping beyond hope that nothing like that ever happens again. So
This is why he's our long-serving transportation co-chair.
I have a question.
Okay, yeah.
So
Wait, did we have others before? I thought I saw other hands up. Shelley, you didn't?
exactly.
It's a secondary renaming, yes.
not a
Sorry
rename.
to, okay.
I want to say that I share some of the sentiments that Barbara just mentioned. I don't have a problem in general with a 10-year timeline unless it's an extraordinary circumstance. And the way we have written this resolution with the ors, I would like to offer as a friendly amendment, or perhaps another way to pen it, to say that the board would consider extraordinary circumstances for someone who has been deceased less than 10 years. I think it's very important. There are people that we know that have recently passed away that we voted and approved that were less than 10 years, and we know some applications that are coming to the board that would automatically be rejected because I know some individuals that are going to be submitting, and in good conscience, I'd like some exception to that.
I would be willing, I think we'd be willing to,
that's fine.
I mean, Carey, do you have any thoughts on that as the person who really crafted this? Okay, just wanted to make sure we had your blessing on that.
We're okay with that.
Okay,
Okay? Okay.
next, yeah, Richard. Yeah, Richard.
Well, I'll get, wait for the mic, Richard.
I'm going to propose an amendment to delete the 10-year requirement. I think it's absurd. I've been involved in street secondary namings for lots of people who've been deceased less than a year or two. I don't see any reason to wait 10 years.
Thank you.
I think let's give Carey a chance to respond to that first, if it's, yeah, thank you.
10 years is a bit much.
I think we'd like to have Carey speak, if that's possible, Richard, thank you. Yeah, okay.
We must move on.
I'll be as brief as I can. I entirely empathize with the concerns that are being raised. However, I think that the faith in the committee to adequately assess the applications is perhaps a bit overstated. Part of the concern and the reason that we had proposed making these amendments was that it is incredibly difficult for the committee to adequately assess some of the applications that come before us. And as a committee, I believe we're struggling to balance the desire to participate in the co-naming process with our ability to adequately provide feedback. And I think this played out before the board, where we had a fairly persuasive presentation, and that at the end, it turned out we had somewhat fierce opposition to it. And having looked at what some of the other boards have done, this is one of the most effective ways to ensure that the applications that are coming before us actually do have durability, actually do have the support of the community. And so that's part of why we had put this in there, and it's part of why almost everybody on the committee supported the application as drafted.
Correct.
I wanted to flag that Miranda's hand is raised on Zoom.
Yeah, I'll be brief also. I don't have a problem with the 10-year, or, the resolution that you've drafted, the way it is drafted. I'm not a fan of secondary street namings at all. And I actually think it's very difficult in these situations, these very opaque situations, to not be overcome by a lot of pressure in the room where 49 people are voting one way and you're like, why does this street need to be renamed, and isn't there a better way of honoring this person who may or may not be deceased, who may or may not have contributed significantly to the community? That's all.
Thanks.
You want to go online?
Miranda? I think Miranda had a...
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to echo what Richard said. Okay. I just wanted to echo what Richard said about getting rid of it versus having an exception. And I also just was curious in terms of other boards. Elizabeth, you talked about, you'd done some research on what other boards were doing. If we were doing anything markedly different from other boards, or if there's kind of like a uniform consensus about maybe the 10-year thing or anything else.
Okay. Yeah, my objection is to the 10 years. I can think of 2 children who were killed, one in traffic, well, both in traffic, but one was in a race up Amsterdam Avenue, which I saw myself. And if you don't wait 10 years, the classmates, the neighbors, the community was heartbroken and mourning. And in those cases, you need to do that. So to make a hard and fast 10-year, it doesn't make sense in every case.
Okay. Okay, it looks like if Richard, you have an amendment on the floor, and it's seconded by Shelley. I'll second. Okay, so let's vote on the amendment first, right? And the amendment is to strike the 10 years.
One second.
And again, I would just reiterate what Carey said, that this went through significant conversation with our
Voting is open.
committee members about the it's to strike
Removing the
to the requirement that there be a 10-year requirement after somebody's death, to be consistent with. No is opposed to Richard's amendment. No is to keep it as is, what's currently in the resolution that was passed. Okay?
10 more
I guess
seconds.
we need to vote.
So you can.
Well,
I'm voting yes.
I got you. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, just give me. Sorry, what are you? You're a yes or no?
no.
Okay. 5 more seconds. So the vote is 12-14-3-0. Sorry, 12-15-3-0 fails.
Okay. So now we're here to vote on the resolution itself, since it fails. So the question's been called.
Amendment failed, sorry.
I think that Roberta called the question, so if there's a second to that, we'll vote. Oh, sorry.
Yes, there was. You accepted my friendly amendment. May I speak? Oh, sorry. My friendly amendment was that we add a disclaimer, leaving the 10 years in, but adding in extraordinary circumstances that we may consider that anyway. And keep in mind as a reminder, as always, we're advisory only, and it's the city council that makes the decision. We don't make the final decision on this.
Thanks, Doug. Okay, so it's the resolution as it stands right now is written with the friendly amendment. Okay? With Doug's friendly amendment. Okay?
Does everybody understand what the vote is now? It's the current resolution with Doug's friendly amendment that under extraordinary circumstances, the 10-year
Voting is open
can
now.
be waived. Is the voting open?
Voting is up. Do you folks need your votes manual?
Count me as yes.
Yes.
I think I'm up there.
10 more seconds, please.
Should be.
2, 1. Final vote, 25-3-3-0.
Okay, I am.
Okay.
Great market.
Okay, moving on to something much less controversial. Our yearly approval of the 97th Street Green Market. It's well patronized and doing a great job. So we obviously voted in support of renewal, and it was pretty unanimous. So question is called.
Sorry, I need a second. Okay. 1 second.
1 second.
1 second. Okay, voting's open now. Sorry, I'm only one person, so.
Put me down as a yes.
It's open now.
I've had that trouble all night.
I would try once again. If it hasn't gone through, it should be going now. You just have to wait for me to open the voting before we start. 10 more seconds, please. Yeah, I got it. Yep, I got it. All right, 3, 2, 1, final vote, 29,000.
Okay, and then finally, West 71st Street and Amsterdam Avenue and a bike corral resolution. Many of you are aware of the public safety concerns around that part of the neighborhood and the extreme congestion that is going on. Community groups have come together. Councilmember Brewer has been involved, other elected leaders, and Community Board 7. They are very interested and will be speaking to the Transportation Committee on an ongoing basis. So if you're interested in the issues related to that neck of the neighborhood, please come to our meetings.
Sherman Square.
Yes, and this resolution is very specific to the bike corrals, which are in front at the southwest corner on 71st and Amsterdam. A group came to us of residents who very much would like to see those bike corrals moved away from where the pedestrian traffic is going through in the interest of safety, and moving them closer to the curb in the road on Amsterdam and 71st, or to an alternative, more efficient location nearby. So we voted unanimously in favor of this and are asking for your full board support.
And it will be an increased number of bicycles supported by this new corral, so that's an improvement as well.
And we're doing this so that,
Voting is open.
and we're doing this obviously to hope move it along.
It is.
With DOT, sorry.
You can vote.
It's also near the 71st and Amsterdam area. But
Yeah,
it's in a different
just-
location.
Yeah.
Count me as a yes.
I got you.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's it,
I'm gonna
that's
do
it for
yes.
us. Thank you.
Thank you.
This vote is still open, by the way. It's not over yet. Still a lot of votes to come in. Oh, sorry. Sorry. 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Final vote, 29,200.
Hi, everyone. We'll make this quick. This is Youth Education and Libraries Committee. This is a resolution calling on the New York City Public Schools to continue their support of students who have recently immigrated to this country, and that support through different language programs, training for teachers, and stuff like that. And it mirrors the PEP resolution, which they'll be voting on this month. And it's in our district needs. Any questions? Call the question.
Voting is open.
And to save time, we withdrew that second resolution because it will come next month, more fulfilled.
Thank you.
10 more seconds, folks. I got you.
And I would like to call on Councilmember Brewer.
Sorry. As Gail comes up, it's 30,000.
Thank you very much. I'm very conscious of time. I want to say thank you to the police commissioner, because in the 2-0 precinct, thanks to the community board and others and a letter that I wrote, they received 15 new cops Monday, and they had 12 cops previously. That's 27. It's not 120, which is what they had before, but it's getting there. And it makes sense, because just the other day, we had obviously the incidents that you know about on 69th Street and 71st Street, but then there's a gang warfare going on between Douglas and Wise Towers. So the 2-4 also got more cops. We need them. So I'll just bring that up, public safety being number one. Number two, I think you know that there are a couple of Hercs closing on 85th Street and on 70th Street. And so it's my hope that nonprofits will take these buildings over. I know that sometimes that's controversial. I'm hoping that Goddard looks at 85th Street, and that Project Find with seniors looks at 70th Street, because I know 70th Street is not happy in general. And so I think seniors would be a perfect mix there. So anyway, just so you know, that's happening. Number three, I'm afraid you'll laugh at this. I was speaking at the New York Historical tonight about federal issues. And the moderator was great, because some of the goddamn questions were about e-bikes. I don't know what the hell. They go together. I told him before he started, here we are talking about lofty things. I swore to him e-bikes was going to come up, and it did. But generally, there was a hearing in the city council. You know, nothing's been resolved, but I think there's a push on the mayor's side. I know the deputy mayor called me again today to talk about it. So there's a lot of push going on to figure out something. Licensing, I want it at the state level, some want it at the local level. Focus on the apps. So there's a lot of work going on that topic. I don't want to spend too much time because of the time tonight. I just want to mention on NYCHA, there are at least, I don't remember, 4 or 5 scatter sites, including the brownstones, that are now supposedly going to be starting the packed RAD process. It's a very hard process. It's one that Wise Towers has been going through. So I just want you to be aware of that. We met with the community board and others to talk about the Extel. I think that'll be much more discussion as time goes on. This is also the ABC site. Now we're clear what city planning thinks they want. I'm not sure we want what city planning wants, and Beverly was phenomenal, as was SEMA in the meeting, and we want to say thank you because we're going to keep fighting for what we want. So I just, without getting into all the specifics, I want to mention that in terms of pedicabs, which is mostly the issue in the park, but it's also Midtown, it's also around our neighborhoods. They are really out of control. I think we know that. So we know that Chauncey Parker, who's the deputy mayor for public safety, has been meeting with the different agencies to try to figure out what to do. I met this morning with the head of the Midtown Community Court, also known as Justice Center, and they're getting all of the complaints now. Last Friday he had 50. So he's also trying to figure out what to do, where there are owners, there are people who are both in the park, that's one group, people at Times Square on the streets is a different group. I think the legitimate folks would like to see something different about the Wild West individuals. There's so many issues regarding this group, but I just want to let you know there is some discussion going on to figure out what to do about them. It's quite fascinating in terms of the world that they're in. We're very upset that I heard that $8 million might be cut to the Department of Homeless Services street outreach programs, Goddard and others. So we've been fighting with OMB about that, something that the committees might want to look at. For goodness sakes, aren't you trying to get individuals off the street and get them support? So why are you cutting $8 million? So we're focused on that also. Participatory budgeting will be voted on March 29th to April 6th. That's when the vote is. We have a meeting, I think, to talk about volunteers in early February. You all get our newsletter, I hope, but you will note that there is going to the Metropolitan Museum, if anybody wants to go for free and see the whole museum. That's one thing that's coming up. We're doing a massive book fair with JCC. People dropped off. I cannot tell you how many books today. Children, and they're going to be doing it all the way until next couple of weeks. On the 24th of February, with community board and others, we're going to do a town hall. It's going to be ethical culture. We're doing tree clinics, recycling day, bike helmet giveaway, just some of the topics that we're working on. And there's a whole lot of legislative issues. My committee oversight is looking particularly at some of the police department issues that are coming up, overtime being one of them, and the issue of contracts at the migrant shelters, which are quite extensive and expensive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Gail. I would like to call on Shelley for his usual. Thank you. Second?